3-year rebuild. So to end this convoluted thing, the way for this team to continue is to figure out a way to take this core and bring it to the next step. And the question is, can that be done? And do they have the ability to do that? I mean, Fenton showed this summer that right now, it's become the thing for him to say that I want to get my eyes on this team, but he tried to make a bold move, and it just didn't come into fruition. So now you try to get your eyes on the team, you get more information, and then can you figure out a way to get them over the top? But, my guess is that we don't see anything early in the season in terms of a bold move. But, again, the hope is to get this team to win. And if they're healthy, I mean, they're a deep team still, very deep team. I mean, look at their potential third line is Niederreiter, Eriksson, and Coyle. It's pretty freaking good. So the hope is that they could stay healthy, though. And right now, that's the exciting thing about camp. Is I remember at this time, I was walking through the Atlanta airport at this time, so maybe I should wait a week. And all of a sudden, I got a text from a source that said, "Hey, just to let you know, Granlund sprained his ankle running in Finland." And so he came into camp. And then all of a sudden, I show up at St. Thomas one day to meet up with Parise before training camp, and he's nowhere to be found and doesn't reply. Then all of a sudden, you do some digging and you find out he's hurt. And so then Granlund gets hurt again at the end of camp last year. So they were always kind of chasing even in training camp last year. And then it just started off with a disaster when you have that ridiculous schedule where they played a couple games and had a week off, then go to Chicago, and they're already kind of looking up in the standings just artificially because they didn't play a lot of games. And then boom, you lose 3 players in one game. So, the key to this whole thing is health.
Good question. Okay, follow up. Go right ahead.
That was a convoluted answer, though. It wasn't a great answer.
We're used to that.
Well, it's a convoluted question, too. But one more for me. When you look at the capfriendly.com for the Wild, we're a couple of contracts we have right now that you would say are values from an AAV to likely production standpoint.
Well, still Stahl at $3.5 million. Coyle, if he could become the player that you all hope, at 3-something, he's a value. So, they don't have a lot of values on the team that you can see right now. Right now, Granlund's making 5.75, Nino's 5.25, Zucker's 5.5. Dubnyk is technically a value at 22nd in the league in cap hit for goalies. But, their defense, you got $7.5 million, 5.187, 4.66. They have a lot of guys making a lot of money. Patterson could turn out to be a value guy if he's the guy that, analytically everybody says that he could be. So we'll see. Yeah, that is an interesting thing in camp, too, is what's going to happen with Prosser and Olofsson. Olofsson, I know it's the beauty league, but Olofsson looks great right now. He looks bigger. He is coming into camp knowing that this is his year, that he better prove something. Prosser's obviously going to be having a hill to climb, not just to maybe make the team, but to play. That's an interesting. I know that people don't get exactly excited, about the third defense pair battles, but that's something that you're kind of looking at. How does Matt Reed look? That could be a huge thing. If all of a sudden he goes out and outplays, I don't see any way Greenway doesn't make the team the way that Boudreau and Fenton talk. But if Greenway doesn't show that he deserves it, and Reed does, Reed's a guy that you might want to put on the team, considering that Greenway has never played a minute in the minors. Cunnin. One thing I was shocked is that Greenway right now I think is going to Traverse City. I don't know why you send him there. Maybe they're sending him there because they don't like their roster and they think that they don't want to be embarrassed. But last year, 2 years ago they lost Olofsson on the first day of Traverse City. Last year Mason Shaw loses his first big development year by tearing his ACL and MCL. If Greenway legitimately has a chance to be either second line right wing on this team or third line left wing, why bring him? I just don't get that one. But Greenway, Cunnin, Reed, that's a good little battle in camp. And then the interesting, also is could Hendricks actually wind up getting into the opening night lineup over, say, a JT Brown? That's going to be an interesting one as well. This is, again, assuming they're all healthy through camp, which there's going to be injuries. Then the other things is, I think that Boudreau wants to play Parise 4 preseason games. I think he wants to at least get Suter into 1 preseason game, maybe 2, depending on Ryan's, wishes and how he's feeling. that doesn't mean that Ryan won't be ready for the first day of camp, but I can't imagine that they're going to throw him into a bunch of games. But I think that he'd like to play Parisi in preseason games 2, 4, 6, and 7, or 2, 4, or 1, 3, 6, and 7, maybe. I can't remember. It's something like that. Depending, he's not going to play back-to-back nights, but he wants to get him into 4.
Good question. You got him fired up. Let's thank Tony Hoaglund, Hoaglund. He handles my insurance. He handles Michael's insurance. Given a couple of conversations tonight, maybe he'll be handling a couple of other accounts from our fan base. We'll see. But Tony's a good dude, and we trust him. He's been sponsoring our programs for a long time and other programs around the network. Again, he works out of Champlin, but you can work with him no matter where you are. It's Hoaglund.
Hey, Minnesota sports fans. This is your local State Farm agent, Tony Hoaglund. I need you all to ask yourselves this question. If you're in an at-fault car accident and you are sued for $700,000, how much of that $700,000 will my current insurance company pay? If you are unsure or can't answer all $700,000, you need to give us a call. State Farm has been number one in car insurance since World War II and number one in homeowners insurance since 1964. For a no-obligation review of your current policies, call us at 763-421-4900 or check out our website at www.champlininsurance.com.
Alec, go right ahead.
Do you see a change with Eck going from center to forward, or just sticking him with center?
Well, I think that he's going to play center. That's where he wants to play. That's where Boudreaux wants him to play. That always seems to change, but right now they're definitely going into camp with Eck at center and Coyle at right wing.
Would you see someone taking over his spot in the near future?
In terms of, what do you mean? Eck?
Yeah.
Like taking it, what do you mean?
Well, what's the future for Eck?
Well, I mean, the future is that he's not coming into this year chasing. He's not like last year. He was almost like anointed a roster spot, and they felt like they had to play him third line center, but he was in over his head. And finally, they moved Cullen to that position, and Cullen actually played pretty well there at times down the stretch. And Eriksson Ek played a lot of the year at times with guys like Winnick and Foligno. Now he's going to get really quality, should get quality ice time, should get more penalty kill time, and play with really quality line mates, whether it's Greenway, whether it's Nino and Coyle. I mean, Bruce would like to align Eriksson Ek with Coyle always going into this season, which tells you that they're going to be kind of your third line guys. So. But again, I think that Eck got better as the year went on. I think down the stretch he started to play, after he went through that crazy goal drought that is very emblematic for really a first full year guy. I mean, I remember Koivu went 45 games without a goal his first year. He scored at Christmas time. I did a huge feature on him the day after about how he's starting to play great offensively. Then he scored again the season finale. I put the guy into a 45-game drought, even though jinxes aren't real. Did you see Chad, the jinxes aren't real, Anthony LaPantha thing? Did you see Chad Graff the other day tweeted, Kai Forberth is perfect in, the preseason, or whatever, in field goals. Then he misses one immediately after and then gets cut. And jinxes aren't real? Telling me?
Well, if Anthony says it, we have to believe it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he'll yell at us.
Yeah.
That's the key. We need to sponsor an award this season for the player who shows the most, ferociousness per pound.
Yeah.
I think we need to have a Ferocious Yorkie award. We will give it out on this program.
If Philip gets his way and Granlund turns into a superstar this year, I will say that he's playing like a Ferocious Yorkie.
Oh, I can't wait. I don't
think it was a Columbus defenseman now. I'm like, this whole podcast, the reason why I'm my mind's not all in it right now.
That's the reason?
I'm texting back and forth with Portsline trying to figure this guy out, and he doesn't think it's a CBJ guy. And now I don't, because it's not. He's on the 11-12 CBJ roster. He wasn't on the Ottawa roster. It would jump out at me. Say Toronto, Montreal.
You're kind of doing the after-hours show where you kind of sit back in a corner and get drunk and just kind of mumble to yourself.
God, this is killing me.
Tell me about the Beauty League.
Don't you think you should talk to somebody else while I can figure this out?
No.
We are going to figure this out before this podcast. I don't care if we're here all night. We'll figure this out.
I care.
How about this?
I
Sam,
care if we're here all night.
somebody here, I don't know why I'm doing it. You all have all smartphones. Get 2012-13. Put the NHLPA, I would say Google NHLPA player, like, basically CBA negotiating, but it was part of the kind of the executive team. It was like Ron Hainsey and those guys. But there was a guy, it wasn't Darren Quint. It was a guy that honestly never played another minute. Maybe Detroit Red Wings never played another minute in NHL again, and it was essentially because all owners it might have been an Islander. The owners essentially blackballed him.
So it's definitely either a Columbus player or an Islander or not one of those teams.
Could have been a Flyer.
It's one of those things.
But basically the deal is that in November, he essentially, I can't remember what he said to Leopold, but Leopold almost flipped the table over in the thing. And then that was it. He was no longer, you found it? Yes, Chris Campoli. Bert, you're the winner.
Oh, Bert, good job.
Next beer is on me. Chris Campoli.
He will buy you a beer, too.
Yeah,
I will.
will.
I'll make him buy you a beer.
I will. You've got me enough coffee.
Bert, you've embarrassed him and saved him all in one night.
Yep.
That's like a Gordie Howe hat trick.
Yep.
I mean, you're just filling up the box score right now. Nice work.
Now, double check if I'm right that Campoli has never played another minute in the league.
Yeah, and maybe do Michael's laundry, too. You know, do everything you can for him right now. That's what's important. All right, now that that's answered.
He never played?
Yeah, right. Alec you get first assist. You get first assist, absolutely.
Okay.
Bert gets second assist, all right? And Michael, of course, gets the goal. We know how it works.
Yeah.
Tell me about the Beauty League.
The Beauty League. Well, yesterday was just absolutely awesome because between games, a bunch of the All-Stars, so the Bufflins, the Zuckers, the Schmitz, every NHL player that was in the Beauty League played a game.
Is talking with your hands hereditary, or is it nature or nurture to talk with your hands?
That's art of a good... there's many ways to communicate. It's eye contact.
When you can't think of words, you have to do this? Is that the thing?
And so nobody could see this. It's all audio. If you don't know what a podcast is.
The 10,000 people here can all see it.
We should start FaceTiming this to people. But anyway...
they've suffered enough.
So they Minnesota Special Hockey, who Jake Gardner's mother-in-law is the president of, I learned yesterday.
Cool.
So they were out there, and it was one, honestly, like I watched last year's, but this year's for some reason was just so much more touching. The guys are into it. They tried to get everybody goals. John Scott was the ref, and one of the cool things is that before, as the buzzer was going down, there was a little, I think it was a little boy that was out there that was being pushed around all game by Bogosian, and who's, dynamite guy. And Scott, they stopped the clock, and Scott threw the puck ahead as everybody was lining up for things right in front for almost like a breakaway for this. And the child scored at the buzzer, and it was honestly it was hard not to get emotional watching it. It just shows how big a heart these guys have. But in terms of the Beauty League as a whole, it's amazing what they have started here. I remember when I first started going out there 3 years ago, I was the only media person going out, mostly out of boredom, and it was mostly just word of mouth on Russo's rants on the Strip that got people out there. Then they all of a sudden hired a social media person, and it got bigger and bigger last year where it was just packed. And then now it's like a whole production. You had NHL Network out there at times. Last night you had Ole and Jacob out there, the kind of social media phenomenon, kind of comedic guys. One of them I coached in the Hendrickson Foundation. Victor.
How'd that go?
I won over Neil Broughton. It was great coaching.
You screwed up your chance to draft high-level talent
I know,
the
that's
next year.
a good point. But they got broadcasters, and they're streaming it live, and they got a social media team.
I know you flip on Twitter, and all of a sudden, if you flip on Twitter, you see the Beauty League.
And the person that runs their social media also, I think, does the Whitecaps, and also I think Holy Family. Which explains why I get Holy Family tweets constantly sent to me. And I have yet to, I feel bad. Aaron's the social media person. I cannot retweet it, because if I start retweeting Holy Family, now every high school in this state is going to start tweeting their results to me to constantly put out there. So I've kind of ignored the Holy Family tweets. I apologize, Holy Family. Where's Holy Family?
You're anti-religion is what you're trying to say.
Where's that? Victoria? I like Victoria. like that little Victoria Co-op they got there. Nice little place. You continue on to Waconia and go to the wineries and go to Lola's. See, I know Waconia and Victoria.